Good evening,
Happy
Drew.
Sunday Eve, Paul.
Oh, it is Sunday.
All right.
Oh,
So there's a whole bunch of reasons that we're recording on a Sunday again. We've both been busy little boys.
very busy, very busy.
But I want to hear about all the band stuff you did this weekend.
Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about there because not only was it the it's been a week, Drew.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, that's why we're here, right?
yep. This past Saturday was the Taze Valley Showcase of Bands. So it is when our high school band hosts a bunch of other bands to come and perform and compete and eat hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff like that. It's a big money raising event. A lot of parents are asked to volunteer their time and work. Uh, my wife happens to be this year she is the treasurer of the band boosters. So I was involved in getting things ready and working all day. I worked in admissions, taking money. I helped Jennifer out with various other stuff. We were there really early. I helped another gentleman set up uh, some wireless internet in the stadium.
Oh, look at you.
Well,
Oh, okay, okay. Well,
no. It's
I, I,
oh my
I got I
god.
gotta ask, what did you use? I mean, because the stadium's a big place.
Okay, so the school. So if you think about a high school stadium, right? Like there's bleachers on each side, and on the home side, there's usually a press box, right?
Hmm.
Uh, they have internet in the press box, but it's only for the sporting teams.
Is it wired?
No, there's like this one Cisco router in there that we don't have access to.
Okay, okay.
But what we needed, and I have no idea how they did this any other year. This is the year that I got involved with this. We needed Wi-Fi at front admissions. We needed Wi-Fi at the concession stands. We needed Wi-Fi at the back admissions. We needed Wi-Fi in the press box for the judges, and we needed Wi-Fi and at the field in the front line, which is like where like the marimbas and xylophones and stuff like that go. So we had to have Wi-Fi in all of these places, and the gentleman that I helped out is like a network technician for Spectrum. So he had some ubiquity gear, like these like long range, like high powered, very directional Wi-Fi
Oh,
beams. Uh,
yeah, like the
mm,
satellite antenna looking things.
yeah. So, but what? At some point, it's not going to be now, Drew, because the gentleman is his kids are a senior and he's basically done after this year.
Oh, and he's gonna take his toys with him.
Well, no, the toys have been donated to the
Oh,
band.
okay, okay.
Uh, but the toys, we had problems with the internet throughout the night.
Uh-oh.
Uh, I mean, you have to imagine these antennas were basically like uh zip tied onto fence posts and chain link fences and stuff. It was very like he had run like Ethernet to places, but like the actual antennas was very uh
He didn't have
wasn't
he didn't have the appropriate hardware to mount them.
yeah, and it's hard because literally you're going on chain link fences and like they're very directional. So
Yeah, they're
like
like line of sight.
yeah, well no, those weren't those.
Oh,
Okay,
oh,
well
okay.
kind of. They were just like high, yeah. But what we talked about kind of as we were thinking about this is investing in like Ubiquity's point to point gear.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so you would basically have a bunch of point to points and point one at like the concession stand, and then you could have a wireless access point inside of there, and it would work. But I got to figure this out because it's something we have to be able to like install and take down, and yeah, so that's gonna be a project for next year for Paul. I'm gonna spend way too much money in Ubiquity gear. I can always see it in my future.
Well, I
Yep,
mean,
yep.
I always
Mhm,
like
mhm.
helping with that stuff. I'm
You're funny you should mention that because I was talking to my wife. I'm like, you know what? Drew just did all this for his gym. I bet you I could I could at least get his advice on what to purchase, if not actual help. So
Oh, buddy. I
yeah.
mean, listen, you just say the word, buddy, and I'm there.
Yeah, yeah. So uh and it was cold. It was cold on Saturday. It was cold.
It did get very
Uh
cold here.
so uh we were getting everything like kind of set up, like unpacking everything at different concessions, and it was like the gates opened about like at 3:30, the first band out on at 5, and right around like 2 o'clock it started raining. And I was like, okay, you know what? If it rains now and it's just cloudy for the rest of the time, that's fine. But then, like, for 5 minutes, it fucking hailed.
Really? It held down there?
It
Oh,
hailed, yeah, like real small, like pea-sized hail. But it was just beating down on everything. It was pretty brutal. Uh, yeah. So, anywho, I don't know if you want to talk about this now or later, but uh, I had to buy some stuff.
like networking stuff?
No, no. So the band, the band
Well, we're
uses.
here. We're here.
Okay,
Let's
we're
just
here.
do it
Okay, okay. So the band uses Square. Uh,
for
so it,
concessions or
for everything, for taking money, they use Square. And like I'll put some links in here as I go. So the most common thing they use, well, they like these things. I bought these all off of Amazon. They are the Square Reader for contactless and chip. They're little squares, oddly enough, little round Rex, and they connect via Bluetooth to some sort of device, not a laptop, but like a mobile device, a tablet or a phone. And you can do a tap pay, you can do Apple Pay, you can do Google Pay, you can insert your chip. Uh, when they do work, they work really great. They are just they're they're they're, they're flaky little pieces of technology.
I mean, it is Bluetooth.
Yeah. Uh, and they had they had a smattering of some Android tablets. By
Mm,
smattering, I mean 3.
I know how you love that.
Okay. So at some point earlier, a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was early last week. I don't know. Time's a blur. I'm very tired. I started talking to my wife, who's the treasurer, and she's like, "Well, the band president gave me this, and it was a big tote bag, or big Tupperware tub, and it had some tablets in it, it had some readers, and there were exactly three three tablets and 3 Square readers." And I was like, "Well, Jennifer, like, how many stations do you need?" And that number came to be 8.
Wow.
And they had 5. Uh, so I bought a bunch of Square readers, and then we started scrambling for devices to use. Some other band students they have some other tablets or other. So basically, we had concessions covered, but I was still a couple of. I was going to use my own personal iPad for admissions as well, but we're still a couple tablets short. And after some debate, I ended up purchasing a pair of Android tablets for the band. This is not band funds. This is Baylor funds, and they're being donated to the band. So I didn't want to go crazy.
Well, let me
And
let me stop for a second because I'm
mhm,
like keeping a mental tally in my head. They
mhm,
gave you
yeah,
a bunch of stuff, and there were
uh-huh,
Android tablets in there,
yes,
but
yes.
there weren't enough, or they weren't
There
good.
weren't there weren't enough.
Okay.
Oh, and there were these pair. One of the tablets was an older Samsung Galaxy Tab, and it was perfectly fine, perfectly serviceable. It worked. The screen was fine. The radio, the Wi-Fi was fine. It connected to the reader. It was perfectly cromulent. It was Android, and I can complain about Android at length, and I will. Uh, but they had these two. I don't know. They must have been straight from China. Like they had
Oh,
like generic white boxes that basically said like 8-inch Android tablet. and
In name only.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were just awful. In fact, one of them I could not get it to pair to Bluetooth, period, and on anything. It
Wow.
just would not work.
Great.
The other one we finally did get to work, but it was just absolutely, it was awful. It was slow. Like it would take, like you would tap the icon for the Square application, and it would take about 30 seconds to launch with no visual indicator that it was doing anything. Uh, but basically, we started doing the math and figuring things out, and we were 2 tablets short. Uh, so I bought 2 more tablets, and I bought these things, Drew. I'm gonna put a link in here. Man, this is where I bought them from, so you're getting Amazon links instead of the actual
Yeah.
marketing link. They were Samsung Galaxy Tab A8s, 10.5 inch, 32 gigabyte Android tablet.
Dark gray or pink?
I got dark gray.
Okay.
I got dark gray.
Okay.
And I got the 32 gig model because that's all I needed. The
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Okay, so okay, you know, I'm gonna start with the packaging.
Okay.
Because I love opening Apple stuff. I love it. I love it. It's great. These things were clearly inspired by that Apple experience, but clearly they said you need to make everything about 50% cheaper.
Right.
It was fine. The boxes were fine. It just wasn't as nice. The build quality on these things is interesting. The bezels are way thicker than, I mean, they're cheap tablets, right? Like I got these on sale for $170. Like regular price is $230. These are not expensive tablets, you know, cheaper than iPads. Bezels are absolutely thick. The build quality was surprisingly nice. They got, you know, they definitely take the stylized cue from the new iPads, you know, squared off edges, you know, so it's very, you know, rectangular feeling, like sharp corners on the side. Obviously plastic instead of aluminum, so it's a little bit cheaper there. I haven't played with the cameras or anything, but the one thing that just kind of just baffled me was on the back of the tablets, and I do not know what it does, I did not scan it, was a small little sticker with a QR code. And for some reason, that sticker just bugged me. Like, why was it there? Why did someone decide this device needs a QR code as a sticker on the back?
On
I don't
the
know whether it's
back.
like I don't know whether it's like the serial number. But it just bothered me. It was like that
It's
just
on.
felt
So sorry. So it's on.
wrong.
It's on the. Like if I'm looking at the tablet,
Mm-hmm.
it says Samsung. It has what I assume is
Yeah.
a camera
Yeah.
hole
Yeah, but like both of them, like just someone looked like had a sticker, put it on their thumb, and just shoved it slightly in the middle of the device.
in the middle.
Yeah, just boom, QR code.
What?
Okay, so I'm gonna rant a little bit about these tablets
I'm
because
ready.
I had to set them both up. Now, I do want to say these are cheap tablets. I do not know where the line is between what is like comes with Android, what is different between like an Android phone and an Android tablet, what things Samsung does, right? This was just my experience with these devices. And the first thing I want to complain about is the on-screen keyboard.
Okay.
I know Apple does a lot of work to kind of fudge things, to kind of like figure out, well, your thumbs are very imprecise, so we know what you were going for. You probably meant to hit, the E key, but really your fat old thumb kind of half was on the E key, half was on the D key. We figured it out. I don't know if they do something similar, but clearly if they do, it's a little bit different because I have never had more typos in my life. And these are like good screen keys, and I thought I was pressing them, and I was just getting things wrong constantly. It was extremely frustrating, especially doing things like typing in Wi-Fi passwords, because some password boxes you could see what you're typing and others you couldn't. It was very inconsistent and very, very frustrating. But here's the biggest thing. that that really, really bothered me. Okay. This keyboard had both a delete key and a backspace key. Okay. So backspace means I want to delete the character to the left of the cursor. Delete means I want to delete the character to the right of the cursor. But the delete key was on top, on the top row with the numbers. So instinctively, every time I wanted to delete something, I would hit the delete key and nothing would happen. And I would hit it a couple more times and go, what the fuck is happening? Oh, the backspace key is beneath it. Press.
Are there alternate keyboard layouts?
Maybe, but this was like, I mean, I didn't have a lot of chance to change keyboard layouts when I'm setting up the fucking iPad or the tablet in like the first boot experience.
Whoa.
Where I'm signing into a Google account and I'm putting in the Wi-Fi password. Like it was just like, here you go, here's the keyboard. And it was very, very like, did someone actually use this keyboard? And like, I mean, I can tell you like within like 30 seconds, but get rid of that fucking delete one. Just get rid of it. It's not useful. And if you are going to have it, don't put it where 90% of the world thinks the backspace key should be. But really frustrated me the most. And I could not, I tried to like experiment with different things to figure out if I could figure out a pattern, but I could not. So like, you know, you'd be typing into a text box and maybe you have to like also like push a checkbox or something, like check something to say like, yes, I agree. It seemed almost random about like, if you tapped an on-screen element that wasn't a text box, whether the keyboard would disappear or not. A lot of times it felt like the keyboard was needlessly just disappearing. Where like things, at least to me, seem to make more sense on an iPad about when that stuff happens. Like, it's pretty aggressive about keeping that keyboard on there because, you know, you're typing, you're dealing with interface elements and stuff. But it was just, it was. So outside of the keyboard, like, there was clearly two phases to this setup. So the first thing I had to do was, you know, get connected to Wi-Fi. And then I had to sign into a Google account, which the Band Boosters has a Google account that they use. So I signed into that. And you got through all there and you decided, yes, I want to do this googly stuff, or I don't want to do this googly stuff. And then there was the Samsung side, which is after that. And
what did you have to do for that?
Well, after much nagging, I eventually told it, like, no, I don't want to sign into Samsung One or whatever they call it. I don't care about these Samsung services. Please just let me use my tablet. Oh, God, please. Oh, God, please. But even then, it's very thirsty about after the fact. Where I'm like, hey, you didn't sign into all this Samsung stuff. Do you want to use, like, I guess if you have multiple Samsung devices, it has some of the, like, you know, the clipboard is shared between them and it has like their kind of version of AirDrop and things like that. I just wanted to get into the Google Play Store to install Square and get that running and be done with it. But even after the fact, it's very thirsty about like letting you know that like, hey, you're not signed into the Samsung stuff. You probably should sign into the Samsung stuff. Wouldn't it be great if you signed into the Samsung stuff? And these things, like, this could be the processor, it could be Samsung, I don't know. These things take like minutes to reboot. Like, it is really, really painful. Like, you get like, okay, you get this Android logo and then that loads, and you get the Samsung logo and it loads, and then you get the Samsung One UI logo and it's got a progress bar. And then for some reason, every time you turn it off, it has this very long step where it says it's optimizing apps, which you're not optimizing apps. I don't know what you're doing. And you have to sit and wait for that. So, but at the end of the day, I got connected to Square readers. I was able to train people, give them the device. They were able to do credit card transactions. It was fine. Honestly had more issues with the Square readers than the tablets, because every once in a while the Square readers would just be like, "What's Bluetooth? I'm not connected anymore." And they have this little button on them. So you push the button and it basically kind of like wakes it up. And sometimes you push that button and it would reconnect the tablet and everything would be fine. And sometimes you basically had to go through the whole repairing dance over and over again. And then it was like about a 50-50 shot of like, hey, I'm going to check for updates for the Square reader. And on the shitty Wi-Fi we had, that would take like 10 minutes, even though I had already updated them and they were on the latest version. So basically, Drew, what I'm saying is I was not super happy with the technology portion of the Taze Billy Band showcase. And I have a feeling this is going to be my problem for at least the next 4 years. So I'm going to have to do some real soul searching about what technology I want to bring and how I want to, provide wireless internet for the stadium and the bands. So, yeah.
Well,
but I'll go ahead.
no, I was going to say, like, we really, seriously, as longtime iPad users, and I have used Android tablets before, we really just don't know how good we have it. Like,
Oh my goodness.
like those Android tablets are such a wild west of shitty hardware, bad
Yeah.
implementations, vendor cruft. Like it's a
Yes.
nightmare.
It is an absolute nightmare, Drew. It's like, and like I talk to people, like I work with people who like are like, no, like that, like they're convinced Android is better in every way possible.
Yeah, I know.
And
So
I'm like-
I know
like-
some of those people, and I don't necessarily think that that's correct. But
But I'm like, are you like,
who hurt
did someone
you?
drop you on your
Yeah,
head?
who
Like,
hurt
yeah,
you?
who hurt you?
Right.
Like, because it is really, it's bad.
I once had an argument
Oh.
at that place of employment with somebody who was so anti-Apple.
Mhm.
And the number one reason they said they wanted to stay on the Android ecosystem was, quote, it's easier to develop apps for it. And I know that they have never written a single line of code ever. So,
Ugh.
like, you can just say you don't like Apple. Like, that's okay. But you can't, in no universe is that a better experience.
And I've actually I've dabbled in some Android stuff, just to kind of see what it is like. And I mean, I haven't played with like the new stuff like Kotlin and things like that, but no, it is not better.
No, it's
It
not.
is absolutely, it's not better. I mean, you can give Apple a lot of shit, but they really do focus on their developer experience.
Yes, they do.
There's only one company I think that does it better, and that's Microsoft.
Interesting.
Yeah, well,
Like from a mobile device?
no, I'm just thinking like when they give tools to the developers to
Oh,
build things,
Yeah.
Microsoft does a really good job. And I think Apple does some amazing stuff like Swift. They're always pushing new technologies. Swift is a great programming language. The tools that allow you to build, UI applications on Apple platforms are great. Where they really kind of fall down sometimes is the documentation. And Microsoft always has solid documentation.
Mhm.
Like there is nothing that is ever shipped that doesn't have like really good documentation, examples, like just they go above and beyond and make sure that's always top notch. Where I think sometimes Apple's like, ship it. We'll record a 30-minute WWDC video and it'll be fine. And people figure it out. But anywho.
Well, I'm thinking about your problem, right? And
Mhm.
hearing you tell that whole story, I basically hear two problems in there. The first is reliable network coverage that,
Mhm.
and here's the key, you need to be able to construct and deconstruct,
Yes.
right? Because it's
Mhm.
one thing to say, listen, here's the devices we want to standardize on, and here's how we want to set them up. But you almost need it to be mobile, and you need it to be able to be set up and torn down
Yes.
and not in anybody's way, and also,
Mhm.
provide power to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, just sort of thinking here, right? Like I'm sort of going into my mind palace and I'm thinking about the canonical stadium experience and concession stands and everything. So concessions and boosters aside, who else needs Wi-Fi?
So we had Wi-Fi. Okay, so we had Wi-Fi in front admissions that has power. The concession stands that also has power. We broadcasted Wi-Fi to back admissions. There's no power there. We had Wi-Fi. We had Wi-Fi antenna pointed at the field in case someone like needed like Wi-Fi for stuff to get their band set up. Band productions are crazy now. Oh, no, actually, no, I take that back. It was not primarily for the bands. Uh, the Wi-Fi on the field was primarily for the percussion judge. The percussion judge is the only judge who is allowed on the field. Uh, and when I was in marching band, what would happen is they would give all their commentary. They would record it on like a tape, like a tape recorder,
Yeah.
and you would get the tape. Oh, it doesn't work like that anymore. They have little like uh, portable devices. It's all digital recording, and those recordings get uploaded to like a central server, and then you can access them after the fact. So we need to have the ability to be able to upload like all their commentary. So there's Wi-Fi down on the field, and there's Wi-Fi in the press box for all the other judges.
So, I mean, I mean, look, I don't know the
Mm.
distances involved here, but I feel like you could probably get away with 2, maybe 3 access points here. Um, because you can certainly mesh them, right? And there are extenders and there's access points. Like, I don't know, like if I had a layout, I could probably recommend something to you. And here's the
Mhm.
key: having a way to quickly mount them
Yeah.
and erect
Hmm.
them and have them be someplace where like they're not going to fall down and hit somebody and they're going to be secure and like they're going to have power. Like I think those are solvable problems. Um, but I think your number one sort of limiting factor here is how much money do you want to spend?
At this point, if I can get something that is like reliable and easy to set up, and like I'm willing to spend a little bit of money on this, Drew. Like it was like I'm willing to throw money at this problem to make it go away.
And then
uh,
and then here's the other thing too.
mhm.
I mean, I think the only way you're going to be able to sleep at night is if you know that concessions and admissions and
Mhm.
back admissions and everybody has a
Mhm.
consistent experience
Yes, yes,
for their
yes,
software. And and
yes.
and look, I just don't think there's a way to do that that doesn't have the word iPad in it. And
I think yeah, yeah.
so I guess the question is like, do you just buy a bunch of used iPads or refurbished iPads?
I may start
iPad
looking.
minis?
Yeah, yeah. Start looking to see if I can get some like refurbed iPad minis or something. Yeah,
And I mean,
yeah.
while you're at it, maybe I mean, I think they probably, I mean, I'm gonna go blind into Amazon here. Um
mm.
uh Retail kiosk.
The other option instead of like the ubiquity stuff would be maybe something like mobile hot, like 5G cellular mobile hotspots.
I mean, I guess it depends
Mm.
if these things need to talk to each other or just talk to the internet.
They mostly just need to talk to the internet, but not Wi-Fi, cellular coverage in the stadium can be shoddy. It's really good in the press box because it's elevated, but not so good. So, maybe it's going to be like ubiquity first and like a couple of hotspots for like, something's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Throw a SIM card into a
Well,
hotspot
I
and
mean,
go.
I guess, well, that's like the
Mhm.
other question, right? Like we're talking about providing Wi-Fi for all this stuff, but like, what's the gateway out? Like, where do they connect?
So, so the football team has a whole bunch of stuff set up. Uh, and what so while you cannot connect to their Wi-Fi, there were a few free Ethernet ports into like their like big old like industrial switch. So it does like natting and stuff. So what he did was basically in plugged into that, and then plugged those into like power over Ethernet injectors, and then connected. So it was using like the internet connection in the press box, and we were kind of just borrowing that. Now, granted, like they're only set up to have like, the Wi-Fi and the internet inside of the press box, and that's just for their commentators and shit like that. But we needed much much more. uh,
Okay.
so
Because I'm wondering if you don't use a little 5G thing, because I think they make some of those 5G hotspots that have like
yeah,
an Ethernet port. So
Yeah,
if you kind of have
that's
everything in a
true.
switch, you can
I could drive everything off of a hotspot. Yeah.
you could.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
like
true.
there's remote access points, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, once you have one, assuming you're sticking with Ubiquiti, I mean, you certainly don't have to, but just going with that example, I mean, they make, let's see here, antennas and signal boosters, wireless access points. I'm just looking here real quick. Riveting,
Yeah.
I know, but
Let's see if I could find what these. Uh,
because they make this, and I think that this can mesh with. And I just put the thing starting to talk about before I got on this tangent. One of those like iPad stands that like act like a little kiosk, right? So you can just basically set it on a counter somewhere and have
yeah.
someone use it like that. But anyway, like Ubiquiti makes these flex access points, and they're also designed to be outdoor, which is nice. And these can be mounted on a pole, and you know, they can mesh, right? So
Yeah.
they don't necessarily have to be wired in, I don't think.
Okay.
So I mean, there's options, right? I think
Hmm.
it's just a question of like like how much coverage do you need? Because if it's out in the open air and there's not a lot of like things in between places, like you have a few 100 feet at least to play
Yes.
with.
Yeah.
So I mean, as long as you're not like at complete opposite ends of the football stadium, like I think you'd be okay. But man, okay, buddy. Well, I mean, look, I'm certainly down to help. I mean, I like solving
Okay.
these kind of
Okay.
problems.
Well, I think I'm not going to think about it for at least a week. I think at some point I may talk to the band directors and see if we can't get into the stadium at some point, and I can just show you things like this is the problem what I'm dealing with,
Yeah. Oh,
and
a hundred
and
percent.
yeah, and then let the juices flow. Yeah, we would greatly appreciate it, Drew.
Oh, of
I would
course.
appreciate it
Oh,
because I'm not this is going to be a solved problem next year.
okay.
I'm going to solve it. Yep.
Okay. And then I think it's just a question of like how many iPads do you need?
Yeah, exactly.
I,
Yeah, if we can get the internet set up, like I the rest of it is just details, but making sure that the network is good and reliable is probably my number one
okay.
thing that I want to solve. So,
Okay. Well, I
yeah,
mean, buddy, I'm here to help. I mean, I think we could solve the problem. And do it on a budget. Like we don't have to go hog wild. I mean, I do like to
yeah.
spend money, but especially when it's not my money. But we can figure it out. I'm
Yeah.
confident. I'm confident we can
Okay.
figure it out.
Okay. All right. Oh.
Okay, let's shift
Mhm.
gears. That was
Mhm.
riveting. I love that. I love this journey for you, by
Oh,
the way. I love
but
this for you.
the showcase went well. It was great. The weather held out. We made a bunch of money. It was great. So, regardless of all the problems, it was still a success. So,
Cool. And did the
uh,
bands perform well?
I didn't get to see any of the bands.
Aw, because you
I
were busy
worked,
running around.
dude. I we were. My wife was there probably by 11 o'clock because she had to like go to the bank and get money. I was there at noon, helping concessions get stood up. You know, my actual real shift started at 3. Uh, we stopped taking admissions at 9. Then we had to clean up stuff. So it was a long day. Yeah. So I just basically I was working. I was working.
Oh, buddy.
It's okay. It's what you know. Next Saturday. Speaking of, this is a great thing if you're interested in high school bands at all. Uh, and you actually will be in the future if you this comes out tomorrow. This Saturday, OSU has having a big. They do this every couple years, a big invitational where they invite some really good bands to come down and perform and compete inside of the Horseshoe. So uh, it's going to be a really interesting time. So I get to see like all kinds of great bands, including Taze Valley next weekend, and I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of it and not work. So
Is it Taze Valley or Tease Valley?
Taze Valley.
Taze Valley.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Gotcha. Now, one last thing here. You said for the next 4 years this is going to be your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm doing math. I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing math, which is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Zach is a
Junior.
junior. Arabelle is a.
She's in 8th grade.
So next year, that's where
She
the
will be a
four.
fre-
That's where the 4
Mhm.
years comes from. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
got it. Got
Mhm.
it.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if she was a freshman or not yet.
No, she's in 8th grade.
Okay.
Yeah, I put a link to the marching band Buckeye Invitational. So yeah.
Okay.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
Cool.
Anywho, let's talk about something else.
Yeah. Before I get to like all the stuff that I got up to over the past few days, we have a
Mhm,
little bit of follow up.
mhm.
Beard balm. What do you think?
Eh. So, I really don't notice a difference in the texture of my beard. Uh, I do think if my beard was just a little bit longer, beard balm would be nice because you actually can, like, shape it and get it and, like, get everything pointed in the right direction. But as far as, like, making the beard softer or better looking, I really didn't notice anything. And I don't know about your beard balm, but my beard balm smells like ass for about 30 minutes. Hardcore.
Well, yours is made out of skulls. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I've had mixed emotions about it as well.
Okay.
I do not use it every day because I just don't want that in my beard unless like I have a reason to have it in my beard.
Yeah, okay.
And like, look, my beard is still kind of thin, and these hairs just sort of go where they want. Like, I don't have like a comb or anything that I can use to like get all the hairs to go in a line. Again, maybe if my beard was a little bit longer, different story. But I will say this: it did make my hair a little bit softer because
Okay.
my beard hair right now, with the length that it is a little bit stabby. Like if I run my hand across it, like it's a little bit stiff. But it did help soften it up a little bit.
Okay.
So it did help with that regard, but in like getting the beard to like lay flat and all the hairs go the way I want them to go, like absolutely not. And I don't know if that was a goal. It certainly wasn't a stated
Yeah.
goal, but I don't know if
Yeah.
that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, I think if it was longer, there'd be more to play with, but at my length, it just wasn't title.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's I don't know, it's fine. I'm gonna give it a few more tries to see whether but it's fine. Maybe I'll do it like I won't do it all the time, but like if I'm going out,
So that's just
I'll
it.
put
Like
some in. Yeah.
I used it some over the last few days for reasons I'll get into in a minute, and I use
Mhm.
it like when we go out to dinner. Um, Mine doesn't necessarily have a smell. Um, it 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 definitely makes the beard a little bit softer. I it definitely makes at least my hair a little bit softer.
Okay.
But okay, well we tried.
We tried.
We
We
tried.
did. We did.
Challenge accepted and
We
completed.
did. We did.
Speaking of
Oh.
tech,
Mhm.
I put this in here early because I wanted you to experience my sheer joy of showing this to you. What are we looking at here, Paul?
So it's an article on Tom's Hardware. EKWB unveils a $449 water block
Yep,
for the Sony PlayStation
that's
5.
correct.
Who the fuck is this for?
All right, so listen. We had a lot of laughs in Drew's
Uh-huh.
computer corner when we fought
Uh-huh.
when Drew decided to fuck with water cooling.
Mhm.
So I saw this and I'm like, I have to show this to Paul. So EK or EKWB in this case is a maker of really nice water cooling components. It's the brand that I used when I cooled uh when I cooled my computer. But this particular product is a monoblock cooling station solution or cooling station product. And what it's designed to do is, just like with other things that you liquid cool, you sort of disassemble the device. You put the block and the part that has to do the heat transfer on a plate, and you run coolant through it to radiators and a reservoir, and you sort of pump that liquid through and it cools something. And I thought this
Mhm.
was really interesting because I have heard from numerous people that um who have PS5s is that they get a little toasty and the fans run a lot. So I saw this and I'm like, liquid cooling for consoles, like maybe this is the year.
So, I I would like to have a quick comment here. Uh, yes, the fans run on my PlayStation 5. They are silent. absolutely silent.
It
You
doesn't
have to
get
get your
loud?
no, no. The PS4 and PS4 Pro would sound like you had a jet engine in your living room. The PlayStation 5 is silent. Silent.
Huh.
If people are having loud fans, they need to take their plates off and maybe remove some dust.
But
Get
like
some dust bunnies up in there.
but like I have seen multiple tech channels. Long
Mhm.
before that this was a thing. I had seen multiple tech people on YouTube commenting like at the various cooling products that like and look, they made fun of them. To be completely clear, they were like,
Mhm.
"These are dumb and they don't work the way they're supposed to." But they were like solutions designed to like cool your PS5 because I guess that they were running a little warm and
I
they
mean,
were running a little loud.
if you put your hands up behind it, it's definitely moving air. But I mean, yeah, they get warm, but being loud or hearing the fans is I have a launch day PS5. I don't think I've ever heard the fans.
And you play with headphones on too, right?
I play with head. I do. It's a mix depending on who's in the house. Either I prefer just to play it on like my sound bar or the speaker up there because then my head doesn't get hot. But if someone else is up there, I will put on headphones. So I do both.
Play
Uh,
games the way they are meant to be played. Don't let the external noise of air cooling fans disrupt your immersion in a fantastic cutscene or lead to your demise in a boss fight. Water cooling your PS5 will enable you to maintain consistent temperatures with minimal span feed fluctuations. Brother, I'm here for you. I'm here for you if you want to take this journey about cool and silent
okay,
electronic
okay,
components.
okay. So I was looking at this thing, and I haven't really I haven't there's if you go click through the link in the article and you get to EKWB's website, they
Oh,
have a YouTube video where they walk through the installation.
yeah.
Nowhere it looks like this replaces your PlayStation case.
Yes. Because it's an all-in-one thing. Like
Yeah.
because like and look, credit to this. It doesn't look like, and I got to go back and rewatch the video, but it doesn't look like you need to worry about like bending any pipes. Like I think all the components come with it.
Yeah, it looks like you basically like dismantle the power supply and remove the board, then
Yep.
mount this to the board, and then I guess it looks like it goes into you put it into like an MATX case. Uh
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it goes into like a little holder and then you add a reservoir and you add the
yeah.
radiators and the fans and then the tubes.
I do not understand this product at all.
Installation manual. I'm looking at the installation manual.
Mhm.
I mean, it just comes with the block and it mounts to your board.
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, this follows like if you were to look at these instructions, this is about what you have to deal with if you were installing a water block on a graphics card. Like
Yeah.
removing everything, cleaning it up, adding thermal pads, mounting it, getting the screws, tightening them just enough, and then testing it. So yeah, I mean that's essentially what it is. But
Yeah, the very I mean, there are many reasons why I choose to be a console gamer, but pretty high on the list is I don't want to deal with shit like this
yep.
ever.
You don't want
I
the
want to
adventure? You like you
no,
don't have
no,
that curiosity is not biting you like it bit me?
no. I want to buy an appliance, plug it in, and have video games.
Okay.
Like that's all it's all I want. I don't want to have to update video card drivers. I don't want to have to worry about what kind of frame rates am I going to get on this game. I don't want to deal with any of that. I just want to go and go, oh, it's a PlayStation 5 game. I bet you it'll run pretty good on my PlayStation 5. Uh ta-da.
Well, quick divergence into Drew's computer corner. So I did up buying Phantom Liberty,
Okay.
and I'm replaying it again. And it's been a hot minute since I played Cyberpunk, and like with all the
Mhm.
patches and everything that they've done, and like all the new Nvidia tech that they've baked into the engine, um, I'm playing this thing cranked at 4K, and I'm consistently above 60 frames a second. But brother, my poor graphics card fan, holy
Oh,
shit, yeah.
overtime.
Yeah. Now the good news here is that I have because of course I do. Because of course I do. I have temperature monitors
Hmm.
on my graphics card, and like it's not getting hot. It's not going above like 68 degrees C.
Okay.
But the clock speed is
It's just
maxed out.
working.
It's on 100% load, and the fans are a running, but it's keeping the temperature consistent. It's not throttling. It's not doing anything. It's not dropping frames. So it's like work. It's like working as intended. But man, I'm glad I'm playing with headphones on. And even with headphones on, it sounds like my computer's taking off
Hmm.
because it
Uh,
is humming.
are you enjoying Cyberpunk 2.0 / Phantom Liberty?
So I have yet to figure out how to start the Phantom Liberty quest. I started a whole new
Okay.
character just because,
Okay.
like you said, the skill trees are completely different. I am playing a pure punch people build, and
Okay.
it's working. I love it. Uh, with I love it. I love it.
Light spoilers. If you remember the original story, the interaction you have with the Voodoo Boys,
Yeah.
you complete that quest line
Oh, so I have a little way to
like
go yet. I thought for sure
completely.
I did the whole
Because,
like prologue.
okay, so because Dogtown is part of Pacifica,
Okay.
they want you to unlock and do the Pacifica quest before Dogtown opens. So when you finish that quest line and you complete all, you get all that and you get the information you need, after you leave and like talk to Johnny, you'll get a call and that unlocks Phantom Liberty.
Okay. So I'm getting close, right? I just
Mhm.
rescued Evelyn.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very close.
You're exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm very
Yep. So I
close.
would. Yeah. Yeah. You're very close. It's yeah.
But like,
I
but
did. I
Paul,
finished Phantom Liberty.
but Paul,
Uh,
I have like all the ray tracing stuff turned on. It's a very very
that's
pretty
all.
game.
That's all.
It's a
That's
very very
awesome.
pretty game.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think they fixed it. They fixed
they
it.
did fix it. They did fix it. It is a total redemption story. And let me say this: I knew nothing about Phantom Liberty, and every single person on the planet might have known this. But Idris Elba is in this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He's like my favorite. He's
Oh,
like
dude, he is.
he's one of my favorite people on the planet.
He's good, and like I don't want to get in any spoilers, but when you get through it, there's a few inflection points where you have to make decisions. Uh, and I personally based all of my decisions of which one of these dialogue choices do I think is going to end up having more conversation with Mr. Elba. I'm going to do that one.
Oh my god! I
'Cause
mean,
he is so good in this.
I had seen him in things. He obviously has a very big part in The Wire, which we all know my feelings
Mhm.
on The Wire.
Yep.
But like that led me to watching shows like Luther. Have you ever watched Luther?
I have not.
Oh, brother. Okay, it's like a
Okay.
British crime
Okay.
type show.
Okay.
He stars in that too. Very good. Very very good, Mr. Elba.
Okay.
But yes, I must have like I had no idea. Like when I started reading reviews and I saw a picture and I'm like, is that?
Mhm.
And apparently he raps in it.
I did not experience the rapping, though. I guess there is a. I think the rapping comes into there is a. They added a new radio station
Right.
where he like some of. I guess also like he's also like a DJ in real life or something.
Yeah.
And
And I was driving
and he did,
around and I
yeah.
heard a rap song come on that sounded like that. I'll put a link in the show notes to an article I read today.
I mean, there's only one station that I listen to.
I know
in
exactly
the
which
game,
one you listen to.
and that is Ritual FM, which I also appreciated. They added some additional like bumpers as part of Phantom Liberty to that radio station, so has a little bit more character. But yeah.
Are those
But
are those real bands and real songs?
I mean, they must be. That's
Well,
one thing.
I
I need to look and go like.
let me phrase that
what-
another way.
Mhm.
Are they bands or things that you have listened to before?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay,
no,
okay.
no, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
That's how I meant to ask
Yeah.
that question.
From what I understand, they're like actual like not super famous bands. Like I think all the music is generally this way. They're bands or like composers, and the music was written for Phantom Liberty. But like some of the like the famously the band who is Samurai is like a real band.
Well, isn't that Keanu Reeves' real band Dogstar?
I don't think it is.
Oh.
Uh,
because he was in a band once. He may still be in a
yes.
band. I don't know.
Because I don't think Doug Story is a necessarily like a harder band.
Oh,
Uh, and there, I remember I watched a YouTube video about this. It's a real life punk band called Refused.
Refused. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about the other reason we're recording a little bit later, and that's because I went on a little trip.
Okay. Neat.
Yeah, so a buddy of mine, who I met while I was working at Microsoft, he lives in the Louisville area. And, we visited each other. He comes to Columbus from time to time and we hang out and do stuff. He's a good guy. Um, Him and his fiance live in Louisville and Louisville. Sorry, Louisville. And ironically, he had never been on a bourbon trail tour.
Hmm.
So he wanted to do that. His birthday is next week. He wanted to do that. So his fiance graciously arranged for a bunch of people to come into town. And that's what we were going to do. So I drove down there Thursday, spent the night Thursday night, spent the night Friday night, and we did the whole, well, we didn't do the whole bourbon trail, but we did the whole like bourbon like experience over the last couple of
Nice.
days. It was very, very cool. Have you ever done it?
I have not.
Yeah. So basically the way like all these distilleries down there offer tastings, they offer tours, there's all these different things you can do. And if you have the means to get down to the Kentucky, like the central to south central Kentucky area around Louisville, there's a lot of great places to visit. So basically, what we did is we had like a little mini bus that picked us up at the hotel, and we went to 3 distilleries throughout the day. The first place we went to was Heaven Hill, which
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell you right now, like I'm not the world's like uh authority on bourbon. I'm more of a
Right.
Scotch.
Neither am I.
I'm
Yeah.
more of a Scotch guy, but bourbon is good. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like certain kinds of it. Let's put it that way. And we went to Heaven Hill first. And the whole reason we went to Heaven Hill first is that one of the brands that they distribute is Elijah Craig, and that happens to be his favorite bourbon. So we go there. We watch a short educational video on the history of Heaven Hill. And then we do a tasting. And the tastings are really interesting because they give you like 4 to 5 little glasses um, with a little bit of bourbon in them. And they sort of talk about what you're about to what you're about to taste. And you sort of tilt it back and taste it. You learn kind of the right way to taste bourbon, which, and again, I didn't know this, but you're supposed to chew it.
Hmm.
So you kind of take it into your mouth and then like instead of just swishing it around, like you kind of just like chew it. And it makes your teeth feel funny. And then you swallow it, and then it makes your chest feel funny. Um, and that's a hell of a thing at 10 in the morning. 'Cause that's the first one we did.
Hmm.
But it was good. And then they have like little droplets of water. So if you want to add a little water to it, you can add a couple little drops of water. And then they had like little palate cleansers and stuff, whether it was water or chocolate or something to help you kind of like clear things out and reset everything between pours. And it was from like a drinking experience. It wasn't a ton of bourbon in each tasting, but it was just enough that like you could start to get a little bit of a buzz.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd get back on the bus. And then we would drink on the bus. And then we would go
Okay.
to the next one. And then the next place we stopped was Maker's Mark, which I've never been a huge Maker's Mark fan. Like it's perfectly fine. Different types of it are used in a lot of cocktails for reasons. But we did the whole tour there. Like we did the whole tour of the distillery and got to see like the rick houses where like they put all the barrels and everything. And that was really cool. And then we ended up at a really cool place at the end of the day in downtown Louisville called Rabbit Hole Distilling.
Oh yeah.
That place was my favorite place that we stopped. It was much more of like a modern vibe where like the other places, like everything's wooden and like, traditional and everything. And like, don't get me wrong, like in order to have bourbon, like you have to put it in an oak cask, right? Like you can't you
Yeah.
can't skip that. But like, it's a modern facility with stainless steel vats for fermenting and like, modern equipment and like instead of just like hoists for everything.
Right.
And they still brew it and distill it the same way that other places do it. They have to let it age just as long and everything. But they also had us sample some of their gin that they make. And like gin's kind of hit or miss for me.
Mm.
Like
I do like gin.
I don't like gin to drink. Like, I like a gin and tonic. I like gin-based cocktails, but, like, I'm not just gonna straight up drink gin. But the gin they had was really good, and I would have bought a bottle of it. It was, like, ridiculously expensive because it's such a small batch operation. I was like, "Nah, I don't know
Oh,
about this."
yeah.
So I did that. All in all, it was made for a really fun day. If you're into that kind of thing, I mean, obviously, like, if you follow me on Instagram, you can see all like the pictures and stuff that I posted. But it was a really fun day, and that's kind of where I've been for the past while.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That sounds like fun.
it really is. And like, you kind of drive down. Like for us from Columbus, it's like it'd probably be less than 3 hours for you. It's like 3 hours and 15 minutes for me to Louisville,
Okay.
because it's just get on 71 and go. So it's not a far drive if you're in Ohio. If you're not from Ohio, or if you're like surrounding areas, like again, it's a really fun thing to do. And like, it wasn't unreasonable. Like, it wasn't very expensive. Like, each distillery was like 30 or $40, maybe. I think Maker's Mark was the most expensive because we did the tour. Oh, and Maker's
Got
Mark
it.
was cool too because it could like let you hand dip your own bottle and everything if you wanted to. It was a really fun time. I was really thankful to go down and celebrate my buddy's birthday and do
Cool.
all that stuff. So that's where I had to go. Okay. Last topic for the night. I'm here to tell
Mhm.
you that, speaking of Microsoft, they have released what I consider to be the greatest Windows update ever,
Okay.
because my liberation is at hand.
Oh, okay. Oh, you have my interest?
Okay. Now, Paul,
Mhm.
if you close your eyes and you think
Mhm.
about building a computer,
Mhm.
what is the number one thing that maybe you don't hate about building a computer, but it runs contrary to your taste on modern PC building?
All of it? Uh, I think maybe, having to install the operating system?
Oh, okay.
Okay, okay, alright, alright.
I'm here specifically to talk about RGB.
RGB. Oh, yes, that. Oh, that's gross.
Almost every
Why
major
do
component
oh,
in a modern computer has some form of RGB, whether it's the case, the motherboard, the graphics card. It's really getting harder to find memory modules that aren't RGB. Um,
oh.
Keyboards, mice, monitors, you name it. Like, RGB has permeated the PC scene. Even for like quote unquote non gamers, like RGB is just kind of a fact of life now.
Oh,
And and unfortunately, unless you are willing to go super hard on one brand, this usually means that you need all sorts of cruft and bloatware and poorly written background service applications for your computer to control all of these different
yeah.
RGB colors. Lest you be left with, which is happening in my computer right now because I got so sick of all these applications, just like RGB gone wild, where some things are solid, some things are going through rainbow transition, some things are breathing, some things aren't even on. Microsoft has answered our prayers, and they have built in RGB controllers to the operating system.
Hmm.
Starting with the most recent update, if you go to your personalization menu in Windows, there is now a section called dynamic lighting, which can control the effects of supported, keyword, supported peripherals that have lighting controllers. Not
Hmm.
everything is fully supported, but according to Microsoft's supported vendors, there is a roadmap where companies like Asus and Kingston and different memory vendors, Razer, Steel Series like Corsair, like their controllers are going to be compatible with the operating system,
Hmm.
which is
So, yeah,
awesome. So
you
now
know,
I
you
don't
can
have to
install.
install all that shit like
Mhm.
Asus Armory Crate, which is the worst application in the fucking world, and that's a hill I will die on for controlling all that shit. So this is now a Windows update that is live. If you are using Windows and you are a gamer or gamer adjacent, or you have a gamer in your life who has to suffer through this, I encourage you to download this. Maybe everything isn't supported right this second, but after seeing how it works and seeing the options, I am extremely, extremely happy that finally we have this as an OS level option that talks directly to these controllers. We don't have to have all this dumb software installed. Hallelujah, free at last. I'm so happy about this. Like, this has always been a huge pain in my side because, like, third party fan controllers, like it doesn't matter. Like, everything's gonna be in one place. And like, like, I'm looking at the things right now, like it can be solid color, breathing, rainbow, like all the stupid shit that you normally get. Brightness controls, color controls. You can even have it sync with your Windows color palette. Like, they did it. We did it. As a society, we came together and said enough. Microsoft has answered our prayers. I'm very happy about this update. Go get it.
Yeah, that's smart. I assume it's Windows 11.
Yes, Windows 11, unfortunately.
Okay, okay. I've
Um,
never upgraded my son's PC to Windows 11.
I mean, look, I think there's people out there that like really, really cling to previous versions of Windows for too long. Um, I'll put the dynamic lighting devices. I'm gonna put a link in the show notes here if you want to go read about this. But I think there's people that cling to certain Windows versions for too long. But like, they're giving away Windows 11 for free. Like, you don't have to pay for it. If you're on Windows 10, you get Windows 11 for free, right? Like, your Windows 10 key. Like, if
Right.
you ever need to reinstall Windows, like, you can reinstall Windows 10 and immediately upgrade. Um, it's perfectly fine, right? And especially if you're on like a newer Intel processor with like efficiency cores and stuff, like Windows 11 is almost a necessity at this point. Even some of the more recent AMD chips with like some of their Vcache stuff, I think even prefers Windows 11. It's perfectly fine. And there was like an article out that came out the other day where like the predominant version of Windows is still Windows 10, but I mean, Windows 11's only been out for a couple years, so I think it takes a
Right.
while for people to like migrate because like people don't reinstall their OS like every 3 months like I do. So like, I'm,
Right.
I'm more of the edge case. So wow, we did a lot.
You did. That was an episode.
Yeah, let's get out of here so we can go to bed.
Yeah, go to doingtheirbest.com. You can find all the stuff there, show notes, links, you name it. It's there. And hey, thanks for listening.